Hi, I'm Ashley O'Toole.
Hi, I'm Fuji Kreider. We're with the STOP B2H Coalition. It's a growing coalition of over 400 individuals and 8 organizational members looking to stop the Boardman to Hemingway transmission line through Eastern Oregon. Ashley will tell you a bit more about the project, and I'll tell you more about who's behind the scenes.
There you go. Yeah, and the B2H, Boardman to Hemingway, Boardman, Oregon to Hemingway, Idaho. Idaho Power does want to install a very large 550 kilovolt line, power line, to serve their customers in Idaho with our hydropower here in Washington and Oregon. We're talking a few hundred miles of transmission line with oftentimes a clear cut or cutaway with that power line. Our organization is concerned not only because we feel the project is an archaic solution or obsolete to begin with, but also because of the potentially devastating effects it could have on our economy, our housing market, and our natural world around us, among other things.
Among many other things. It's a very destructive line. 305 miles, as a matter of fact, with a 250-foot right-of-way, as Ashley is saying, cutting through pristine waters, habitat, forests, and farms in Eastern Oregon. Not also to mention the historic Oregon Trail. It will cut across the Oregon Trail 8 times along this project. One of our coalition members, as a matter of fact, is the Oregon-California Trails Association, headquarters in Independence, Missouri. Now you might say, why are they involved or why do they care? The Oregon Trail goes a long, long way. Well, I tell you, the Northwest chapter is the most active chapter. And why? Because Oregon has the most pristine and untouched traces of the Oregon Trail.
That's right.
And so that's a big deal in this too, besides wildlife, property values, and all this like Ashley's talking about.
Yeah, there's still a lot to preserve with the Oregon Trail. And I think it's also worth mentioning too that out of this 305 miles, they've indicated over 70% of this transmission line is going to be on private property. So there are, I think, 300, or how many did we say affected landowners along the way?
Yeah, roughly about 300 affected landowners. Yeah. And in Union County, that is actually 81%. In Umatilla County, 100% on private lands. Wow. The reason the ratio is such is because Malheur County only has 27% on private lands. The rest are in their public lands. So that's why it changes the overall ratio. But who wants it? So Idaho Power is the main applicant. Idaho Power is only 21% investor in this line. However, Pacific Core is a 54% investor, and BPA, Bonneville Power Administration, is 22% or 23%. Idaho Power and Pacific Core are investor-owned utilities. That's what they're called. They're out-of-state corporations. They have shareholders that they're responsible to, and they are really in the lead. Bonneville Power Administration, a quasi-governmental organization, serves wholesale customers like the co-ops, like OTEC, like we have. And whereas the investor-owned utilities are directly to the residential and commercial and industrial customers. So Idaho Power is the main lead, even though they're the smallest investor in the line. And you might say, well, why? That just, it doesn't make sense. To tell you how and why this configuration, Idaho Power, every investor-owned utility, every 2 years, because they are regulated monopolies, every 2 years they must report to the public utility commissions of their state. What they report is they do this study called an integrated resource plan. They do it every 2 years. It's a 20-year lookout forecast with a 5-year action plan. Way back, over 10 years ago or more, 12 years ago, Idaho Power decided or thought that, coal is probably going by the wayside. They were getting a lot of pressure even back then, and it's just done nothing but increase. Coal plants are closing. Boardman's closing next year. North Valmy, which Idaho Power is a member or a partner in, is closing in 2021. Bridger 1, 2, 3, 4 are in Wyoming. They are owned by Pacific Core. Bridger are big coal plants. Wyoming has a lot of coal. Idaho Power, back to today, and during these planning processes, thought, well, if we lose all these coal plants, we are going to have a shortfall of energy come 2026. We'll have a real problem in Idaho. And what they also, besides responsible to their shareholder, they must deliver reliable and efficient power to their customers. It's a big deal to stay as that regulated monopoly and to not lose that contract. So they said, we're going to be short. We won't have enough power. As a matter of fact, they said, we won't have 351 megawatts. We'll be short. We'll call it 350 for short. Anyway, so they start planning. Now, what happens in this process with the PUCs, they can plan to build a nuke, to build a gas plant, to build solar, renewables, wind farms, or a transmission line. The utility has an option to choose what they're going to use to fulfill that need that they're going to have come 2026. Well, Idaho Power decided to go for a power line, transmission line, and not to build their own, but rather to buy from the Mid-Sea market. And the Mid-Sea is the Mid-Columbia market, goes from Alberta, Canada, to parts of Northern California, and that's the Mid-Sea market. And so Idaho Power wants to buy power from us. They perceive it to be cheaper and not build their own. In the meantime, I'll just jump to the conclusion. In the meantime, a lot has happened with solar prices going down, battery storage is going down, all of that. Renewables are really hot right now, and coal is going away. And so basically entrepreneurs in Idaho have filled that need. 480 megawatts have come online, either permitted or sited already. So really, we have debunked the need that Idaho Power originally started with, that they need power in 2020.
So really another way to put this is that, you know, they're anticipating these coal plants shutting down, and that there could be a shortage of about 350, I think you said, megawatts. Yet they already have a plan of either existing or upcoming power generation of over 400 megawatts. So in essence, they've already solved what they anticipate as a problem. But something else that I wanted to mention is that, as we were discussing earlier today, when they first started this project 12 years ago and they're doing those 20-year projections, we're 12 years into those first couple of 20-year projections, and they're not going as projected. The demand that they anticipated to be going up has been flat.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do with not just steadier population growth, but also just because more and more common household items and vehicles and things that require energy are becoming more energy efficient.
Right.
And just down to that end user. And so, yeah, that demand hasn't gone up as they anticipated it would. And so it seems to our organization that, you know, if we were behind the helm here of how to solve this problem, the least practical solution is this transmission line that they want to do.
For sure.
I mean, it is certainly, we use the term power grab as a pun because it really is. It's literally grabbing our power, our hydropower, sending it to Idaho. And as you mentioned, there's 3 large investments, you know, bodies here that have some investment in this that stand to gain a lot of money when this project happens. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's just going to come at a really great expense to us.
And that's what I was going to say, actually. The real reason, if you want to know the real reason, they make money. Utilities make money by building things, not by buying and selling energy. I mean, you might think that, what are you talking about? But actually, the margin on buying and selling energy is quite small these days. Maybe 50 years ago it might have been different. But nowadays, it's not that big of a margin. Where utilities make money is building things. And why? Because they get a guaranteed rate of return from anywhere from 6 to 10%. This is estimated at 6.7% return on investment of a $1.2 billion project. Just imagine that. It's not chunk change here. And why? How do they get this? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Do you know about the Rural Electric Act?
No, tell me. Tell us.
Okay, so there's the Rural Electrification Act of 1936. Okay, and back then it was a good idea. Basically, utilities, you know, we had the West, everybody was in rural areas, or not just the West, but rural communities wanted to hook up and get electricity. Well, the utilities were like, that's a huge investment. Why would I go all the way out to the hinterlands and give them electricity? I'm not going to make my return on investment. So the PUCs at that time, whatever they were called, said, okay, utilities, we'll guarantee you a rate of return on your investment if you build out. So when they build things, they make money. Now this law that's nearly 100 years old still exists today. And so we have to change the incentives to allow for things like renewables and non-fossil fuel solutions.
So it's a law designed
destructive
for
solutions. It's
a law designed for a different time when the needs and the problems we were facing were much different.
Exactly.
Yet it's still in the books, and they're going to find a way to take advantage of it, aren't they?
Yesterday's solution is today's problem, and
yeah.
that's the thing with the transmission line
That's
itself.
right.
Today, a transmission line? No, that was last year's problem, or 10 years ago problem.
So let's maybe talk about our organization's kind of next steps and purposes and goals right now.
Okay.
So, the STOP B2H organization has actually been around for several years, thanks to Fuji and her husband Jim and a few other key players that came in pretty early. The organization has actually grown quite a bit, especially in the last few months. We've also reached out and have started to create a true coalition with some of our neighboring counties that have similar organizations that are also pretty upset about this project.
5 counties.
5 counties in Oregon, yeah. So now, though, we are moving into a pretty critical phase in the, I was going to say the continuance of this project.
Decision-making.
The decision-making of this project, as in we're coming up here very soon, towards the end of April, it sounds like, we may be getting what's called the next, and hopefully final, draft proposal. Right? Draft proposal order. Yeah.
Draft proposed order.
Which is going to be a very, very lengthy document that Idaho Power and these other entities have had a very long time to write and fine-tune. And the time for public comment is going to be pretty limited. Sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 60 days. And so right now, a very key component of our organization is outreach. Literally what we're doing right now, trying to reach out to the public to make you aware of what is about to happen if we don't do anything. And I say that with it in mind that we can stop this. We actually can stop this. And step one is believing we can.
Right.
The precedent is already there. Since 2009, 12 of these projects have been canceled. By one reason or another, but oftentimes we're finding the official reason as that public utility withdrew their application. Why did they withdraw their application? Many multitudes of reasons, but a lot of times there were organizations like us that had a lot of influence on that decision. And so we believe we can actually stop this thing. We're coming up on a very critical moment where they have to spell out the plan to the public. This is what we want to do. And we, the public, can stand up and fight it. And if we raise enough hell, we actually can stop it.
Right. And some of you who may have tracked this in the past say, is it still alive? You've got to be kidding me. So a lot of the public thinks it went away a long time ago. And actually, Idaho Power wants you to think that. And through every step in the process of decision making, they make it sound in their press releases like it's a done deal. It's a done deal. That's it. However, it's not. As a matter of fact, there is no one decision maker in this B2H line. There's actually 2 regulatory agencies and processes, a federal siting process and a state siting process. And all of those have to align to the right location, the right line. And I want to tell you that that doesn't include lawsuits and mitigation and many other things that we have planned down the road. That's as the last resort if we don't win at this stage. So what Ashley is talking about is actually a big step in the decision-making process for the state of Oregon component, and it's a siting component, meaning where the line is, the state of Oregon, Oregon Department of Energy Facility Siting Council. It's a council of 7 persons appointed by the governor, review and evaluate the line based on some guidelines and conditions that are in Oregon administrative rules. And they have to check that they comply, habitat, check, fire prevention, check, like that. And they'll do that. It takes a long, long time. This process may take up to 2 years. However, when this happens this spring, it's actually saying it's our last chance until you go to court. It would be our last chance to make a stand, we meaning the public. You must testify or send in your written comments during this period, or you lose your standing for anything more, what they call a contested case, which is like an appeal process. If you don't do it now with this public comment period, you cannot file a contested case. So it's really important. We're going to be really getting the word out. We have our website getting online, probably be live by next week. Our Facebook page has been live for a while. All of these are at stopb2h.org. In Facebook, of course, just Stop B2H. But anyway, we'll keep you posted. Sign up, get on our mailing list to get the direct mail, and we'll tell you exactly when the hearings will be, when to file your comments, talking points, helpful hints, all that kind of stuff.
The helpful hints, talking points, exactly, because I mean, we've been studied on this, you much longer than I, but as much as I'm learning, you know, the term bureaucracy, it's helpful and hurtful in this process because they can lose us in the bureaucracy, but we can also hit them back with some bureaucracy. And a lot of that is some very finite, technical, must be factual things. And so while we really encourage the public to get mad and participate and look for ways to reach out to us and participate, we want to help you participate. We are going to begin offering trainings around the county and perhaps around Eastern Oregon. We've got a few
presentations. 5 counties.
We've got a few presentations put together of those sorts of details. What can you include in your letters? Would you like help writing your letter? We can help you with that. We want folks, we want to do a major outreach to fill every seat in the House at these town hall meetings that these folks are required to have. They have to have town hall meetings. That's a major goal for us, is to fill every seat with upset citizens. And contest this, to use the word, contest this as much as possible before it goes to that final board for a review.
Absolutely. Okay. So I think that I guess I don't know what else to say.
I think we can wrap it up.
Covered for at least the introduction. If we're able to come back again, we'll maybe go to another level. You probably have many questions. Send them in the comments or however it works, and we'll come back again for sure. So
Stop B2H.
StopB2H.org or Facebook at Stop B2H.
And Stop B2H at Gmail.
At gmail.com.
All of them, So thanks again for having us, and we hope you found this informative. And please reach out with questions and let us help.
And we can stop this.
We can.
All right.